So Xbox has had a pretty interesting 2024 thus far, and we're really only in the month of April. Of course, they had a really good presentation where we learned about games like Hellblade 2, Avowed, and of course, Indiana Jones, which is one of my most anticipated games of 2024 as coming to the Xbox platform this year, and people got excited, and rightfully so. It seemed like Xbox was finally on a good path as far as exclusive games were concerned. Then, of course, we learned information that allegedly Starfield and Halo and Gears of War was coming to PlayStation, and a lot of people raised a lot of eyebrows at this. They were like, well, Xbox has just completely devalued their brand. Now, while those games ended up not coming to PlayStation, at least as of yet, it doesn't necessarily seem like they are, a lot of people were wondering about how the relationship between PlayStation and Xbox would basically do. Putting older games such as Sea of Thieves and Grounded onto the PlayStation platform, was that going to be a home run? Because I mean, let's be real. As someone who watches the console wars on Twitter, I was under the impression that that PlayStation fans hated these games. These were subpar games. These were not games of any interest to PlayStation fans. So what's the point of putting them on there? But it seems like that's not the case at all. And we got an article here pretty much detailing everything that has gone on with this and why it is the way it is. So Tweaktown and Derek Strickland over at Tweaktown, who I believe, I'm like 99% sure we worked together at Gaming Truth like 10 plus years ago. So shout out to Derek. He's doing great work out there. Microsoft has more bestsellers on PlayStation Store than Sony does. And you can see here, there's a lot of ads on this site. I mean, quite a few advertisements, but what are you gonna do? We have an image here of PlayStation games, and then Derek gets into the article itself. Sony and Microsoft may be direct competitors, but sales charts also show just how mutualistic the two companies are. So then we go down here. If nothing else, the FTC versus Microsoft trial in 2023 taught us one important lesson. PlayStation and Xbox are as cooperative as they are competitive. Microsoft depends heavily on the Sony storefront to sell its games, including mega hits like Minecraft, Call of Duty, and Sony in turn welcomes Microsoft's revenue contribution. Now, of course, they go into the Activision Blizzard situation, all this sort of stuff, but what's interesting about this is when you look at the data here for the best-selling games, you see that, yes, you know, you got your Call of Duty here. That's technically an Xbox game. You have Helldivers, which, I mean, technically it's a Sony game. You could also say that MLB The Show is as well. But then you have Sea of Thieves coming in at 12th. You have Overwatch 2 coming in at 7th. You have Fallout 4, Minecraft, Fallout 76, even Grounded makes an appearance on this list. So the games highlighted in blue are PlayStation games. The games highlighted in green are Xbox games. When you look at this chart here, you can clearly see Microsoft owns a bigger piece of the pie. Out of the top 25 games, 7 of them are Microsoft games, 5 of them are Sony games. And you can see the top selling overall game is actually a Microsoft game. So that's pretty interesting to me. Of course, the Fallout stuff got a big resurgence because of the fact that they have that TV show going on as well. That's an Amazon exclusive. People seem to really like that show as well. But it seems like potentially leveraging your IP on these other platforms is actually a smart thing. Like, yes, Fallout 4 is $5, Fallout 76 is $8, and Overwatch is technically free, but you have people buying into these games as well to buy things like skins and additional characters. Call of Duty is a full price game. Sea of Thieves and Grounded are both $40 games, but once again, the mindset is that people will spend a little bit extra if they want to get like a certain skin or something like that. And these games seem to be being played at a pretty high rate as well. And then, of course, you have the fact that, like I said, you have the whole thing going on with Activision or with Fallout that's allowing Fallout to get more publicity. So the question I have to ask with all of this is this idea potentially working better than we thought it was going to work? Now, obviously, you want to have a reason to have an Xbox console, and I'm still a firm believer in that. I'm still a firm believer in having exclusive titles on an Xbox platform that aren't available anywhere else. But if you're taking older games, you know, games that have been on Xbox for 4 or 5 years or something like that, and then allowing them to go to other platforms to generate more revenue. And these games are actually doing some decent numbers. Like, can we really say that this is a bad idea? At the end of the day, all of these companies want to make money. They want to maximize their profits. And yes, you still want Xbox to have a reason to exist beyond just a game studio. You still want to have hardware, because hardware keeps things competitive. And in order for hardware to be successful, you have to have these games that are available on Xbox hardware, and only available on Xbox hardware, at least for a decent amount of time. So your games like your Indiana Jones, your games like Avowed, your games like Hellblade 2, yes, these should first come to the Xbox brand and stay on there for a while. But if a couple years down the road you decide to put it on another platform, you know, is that really that big of a deal? Now, one thing you might be saying is, well, RGT. If that's the case, many people can just wait for these games. And it does seem that way, because people have been waiting for Sea of Thieves, evidently, to play it on their PlayStation, even though that was an Xbox One game. So should Microsoft be looking at like Xbox One games to bring over to PlayStation? Like, why not bring Rise? Like, I thought Rise was a pretty fun game. Like, yeah, it's super short, but why not bring Rise? Why not bring Killer Instinct over? Games that, you know, were first put onto the Xbox One, like Grounded was, like Sea of Thieves was, and then bring them over to the PlayStation and potentially make some more revenue. You know, I don't necessarily hate this idea. If that's what they're going to do, just older games. If it's day and date games, it's pointless. You know, if your games like your Starfields, whether you love that game or you hated that game, if your game's like an upcoming Fallout game, you know, if your bigger titles are all going to be available day and date on the PlayStation, then yes, this isn't a idea that I feel really have any sort of legs to it, because of the fact that you're diminishing the Xbox brand. And you could always say, well, you know, PC, you could play all these games on PC. There's a reason why consoles still sell. There's a reason why, because a lot of people like to play on a console, sit down on a couch in front of a television. They don't want to mess around with PC stuff. I am one of those people. I do not play a lot of PC games unless a company sends me a code of a PC version of a game, and then yes, I will play it. I have PCs capable of it. On that rig back there to play Gran Turismo 4 at HD with a texture pack and a steering wheel, I have a 3080 in there. Like, I could run games just fine. I just prefer to play them on a console. So I feel like that's just kind of a moot point at this point in time. Like, yeah, you can play the games on your PC, but we're talking about consoles here. We're talking about consoles, dedicated video game consoles. And if Microsoft is able to kind of leverage their IPs in such a way that your competition is buying these games up, I mean, obviously competition in quotation marks, but your competition is buying up these games and putting money into your pocket. I mean, I have to ask one question before we wrap up this video. What brings in more revenue? Game sales or hardware sales? It's always been games. It's always been games. Hardware sales are razor thin profit margins, at least for the very first few years of the system. You get that back with accessories. You get that back with game sales. And if Microsoft is able to leverage this, I don't know. Maybe it's not such a bad idea after all. I don't think they should put everything on PlayStation, but if we're just talking about older titles and the PlayStation fans who thought these games were lame all of a sudden are all about them and playing them, like, is it really a bad idea? Maybe Twitter just exists in this little bubble and these console wars don't really exist outside of it. People just play games and play games that they find interesting no matter what platform it is. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think about this, though. Do you think this is a viable option for Xbox to continue to do, looking at some of their older titles, throwing them over on PlayStation and seeing what happens? You know, obviously not all of them are going to be winners. Pentiment seemed to bomb on like everything. Like, nobody bought it on the Switch, nobody bought it on PlayStation, but that's because, I mean, it's Pentiment. Let's be realistic. Oh, it's a good game. Obsidian, great writing. I don't care. It doesn't look like an appealing game to me. Thus, I will not be playing it. Let me know what you think about it, though, in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Yes, your boy is feeling better. I've been sleeping a lot. taking a lot of Halls, lozenges, the menthol ones, and they seem to be helping. My throat feels a lot better. I don't know what it was. Pollen is starting to emerge, so it could have been that. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.